Footwork needs massive work. OMG, so femme, guy or girl. Seems way too high for your skill level. Your overhand drop looks very rough. So I've been making content for quite some time. So I'm very much used to comments and criticisms and, oh, you look like Scooby-Doo. But because this badminton channel is fairly new, I've never gotten comments or anything about badminton or my skills. And it's funny because most of the comments I have so far are basically for the $5 racket video. And I really haven't posted that much content of me playing so far yet, which there definitely is more to come. Just hold on. Yeah, boy is busy. I am no badminton professional, but I do hold myself and my skills to a level that is a little bit above recreational at least. And because I've been on social media making content for a while, comments usually don't bother me. But for some of the ones that I read, I really wanted to respond like, yo, catch me outside, mother. And so I had to rein back that Karen monologue and chill out because that's what I usually do when I read comments, like, it's all good. But today, we're gonna go through some of the comments. I'm going to maybe justify a couple of them, but just mostly react. We chill out here. It's all good, okay? All right, so let's get into it. OMG, so femme, I9. Guy or girl. So in my mind, this is from a Republican or someone in Asia who's just not woke yet. They have not woken up. And yeah, I admit the technique, not looking so great in this particular video. Honestly, I was a little uncomfortable using the racket for reasons that I will get into in a minute because there are some other comments that are more related to that. But honestly, comments like this do not affect me. Whoever this is, I'm sorry you're just mad, but to be fair, whether the skills look feminine or not, they can still probably beat you in a match, so catch me outside. Blaming the racket, but you didn't try to attack once. Now, this definitely gets into the reason why I was feeling uncomfortable with the racket in the first place, and there are some other comments that are trying to address this as well, like, not sure why you were scared to smash. The looser the strings, the harder it is to break them. And in response to that, there's a limit to that though. If you buy hand-tensioned rackets, the strings will snap even from a stick smash. However, this man has 2 whole rackets plus his. Just go for the smash and actually test the integrity of the racket properly instead of coddling it. And listen, I get it. Y'all were mad that I wasn't playing like an actual badminton player. I really was coddling the racket, and there is a reason for that. The reason is I had a shoot like the week after kind of planned where I needed both of those rackets and I needed them strong and at the same level as they were when I pulled them out of the box. That was going to be an entirely different video idea where I was going to be using those. I didn't want to accidentally snap the racket and have to pay freaking, what, 35 bucks now it is to restring a racket that only costs $5. That does not make sense. And yes, I know, you do it for the video, you do it for the content. Bro, I'm a content guy, I get it. But not only would I be operating at a loss, the strings wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be a $5 racket anymore. It would be a $35, $40 racket because I put more money into it to get new strings. Safe to say, we are amending all that because that video just didn't freaking happen. Things just got busy and they had to bail. It's all good. But that means you will see me actually use these rackets to its full potential and actually kind of go all out. That is a video that I do have planned now because I don't give a fuck. And to be fair, it is true that the looser the strings, the harder it is to break them. That is very also dependent on the skill level that you're at. It is easier to break strings of higher tension if you're not hitting the center properly pretty much almost every time, so you definitely have to be consistent. But with very loose strings, because they shift so much, because there just isn't very much tension in it as well, it also poses an issue for the racket itself and the strings, so it can be easier to break too. Now, you're definitely going to need to smash and need to play more actively in order to break the strings, which I did not do at all. So I completely understand where all this is coming from. But guys, I got you. We're gonna get there. We're gonna redo it. I'm going to fulfill these promises, don't worry. You had a stronger lady partner for the second game and the weaker player went to the other side. With your playing level / style, did you say you string at 30 pounds tension? Seems way too high for your skill level. For that second match, my partner was stronger and that also contributed to the overall win. I have to disagree with the 30-pound tension though, because like skill level and tension definitely correspond, but it's much more about accuracy and consistency. I guess that does come with skill level too, but you're seeing my skill level with a really shit racket and not necessarily a good racket too. No, I'm not saying I'm a great player. You can still call me shitty. But I will say, I've been stringing at 29 to 30 for at least a couple of years now, and it's not like I break the strings immediately. It's not like I really have a problem, and the feel is actually much more how I like it because I think you get a little bit more control that way. Your smashes and your shots are absolute shit if you're not hitting the middle every single time, but I think if you are pretty consistent, you should start moving that tension up a little more. All right, so for this next one, I have said that I've been, a content creator or just, been online long enough that most comments and stuff do not bother me at all. I mean, maybe I'll lose a wink of sleep and buy one extra milk tea just to kind of, get that off my chest. But it's not like I'm spiraling because of all the comments. Honestly, people could comment more. That would be actually really great for the brands. But this comment actually triggered me just a little bit because I think it really is someone who wants to give advice and very much is trying to be helpful and trying to be hey, these are things you really do need to work on, blah blah blah. The comments that are really these are things to improve, blah blah blah, those always hit the hardest for some reason. But I think this comment is one of the most important because it does address a lot of things just about, skill and technique and all that kind of stuff. And there are things that I definitely needed to look at and kind of see and yeah, I can do better on that. And things where it's I might have to disagree. Skill issue. Your form is very recreational. You swing like a tennis player for many shots, especially backhand. Your overhand drop looks very rough and it's not deceptive at all. Footwork needs massive work. So I responded, thanks for the insight. I mean, I am a recreational player at the end of the day. Agreed that form looks different for those who've had professional training, but I think I make up with it with shot selection and consistency. I'll look into the overhead drop though, lol. Which was responded by, work on your wrist pronation and gripping of the racket correctly for backhands. Shot selection and consistency only help you so much, i.e. when your opponents have bad footwork. Work on your footwork and your swing. Shot strength doesn't come from biceps, it comes from your whole body, from flexing your back to acceleration your arm. And finally, the pronation of wrist. A wrist strength trainer may or may not help. This guy is trying to give advice and help and all that stuff, and I completely agree for some of these things. With the level I was playing with that specific $5 racket, as well as the matchup too, the rallies were seemingly very slow, and I kind of had to check because it almost looked like it was 0.75 speed instead of actual speed, but that was actually how fast the rally was going. Let's completely break down this comment though, because I think this is the most important. Skill issue, your form is very recreational. I have said before, I have no formal training. I've just been playing a very long time. Certain things are definitely vital for form so that you are making sure that you're not injuring yourself and you're getting the most out of your shots. So I'm definitely not saying that it isn't important, but I think certain things that I've learned to adapt so that I don't have to do correct form, but it speeds up my shots and speeds up the rally. That's what makes it look a little bit weird on camera. So firstly, you swing like a tennis player for many shots, especially backhand, talking about the gripping of the racket correctly for backhands. And that's something I purposely don't do. I do not use my thumb when I'm doing any of my backhands. Now, a lot of people are like, how is that actually possible? Because when you use your thumb for the backhand, it gives you the most power. And so that's why for some of the backhand shots, it looks very unnatural because a lot of it is coming from swinging more of the arm and using more of the wrist rather than literally just the flick of the wrist because you're using the thumb. I've always thought that the thumb is somewhat unnecessary for backhand shots. I will say it definitely helps for some of the backhand shots. For example, if you're at the net and you're doing a backhand drive or smash, using that thumb is definitely going to give you more power, and you're not going to want to do a full arm extension when you're that close to the net because you're more likely to hit the net if you're trying to use your entire arm, or you're actually going to miss because this motion is a little bit too much. So especially when you're in the front and you're doing a backhand, it's all about wrist, and using that thumb is actually a bit better in that occasion if you're able to do it. Now, it definitely does look like a tennis player swing, and you'll even see for some Japanese players, usually in the women's doubles to be completely honest, they're doing a full extension tennis swing for some of their backhand clears. So I think a lot of it also has to do with positioning and the occasion and kind of the shot that you're able to do at the time. But I do think, even though it does look a bit wonky and it does look very tennis player coded, in actual games, if you are consistent enough with it and you actually kind of are able to have more of a shot choice, not using the thumb is actually perfectly fine. If you have weak wrists though, I wouldn't recommend like trying to go full wrist power on those backhands because using that thumb does provide more support. Call me the Shui of badminton, the way I'm out here changing up the game. Your overhand drops look very rough and not deceptive at all. That's definitely something I thought about too and have actually been implementing in my games. So thank you very much. Something I took away from this section of the comments too is, you know, always trying to improve upon your skills too. And the group that I've been playing with a little more often, I've been more passive, I guess I would say, just wanting to keep the rally going. And honestly really forgot that people want to play with stronger opponents so that they can improve. And honestly, I was kind of in that mindset where it's like, okay, I don't have to smash, so I'm not gonna smash. So that's definitely changed after I read this comment. Also, the overhead drop does look a little bit rough. I think it was because I was coddling the racket. For some reason in my mind, I was like, if the shuttlecock barely touches the strings, well then the strings won't break. So I'll hit everything as soft as possible. And then the last thing I want to address is the shot selection and consistency only helped you so much, i.e. when your opponents have poor footwork. This is the part where I just have to completely disagree. I think shot selection and consistency are the most important parts of the game. The higher the level you get, the more consistent people are gonna be. And so if you want to reach a very high level in badminton, you have to stop making mistakes. You have to get literally as much as you can, if not everything, over the net. And so as consistency improves, that's when shot selection is even more important because you're not going to win anymore just by being consistent and waiting for the other person to make a mistake because they're going to be just as or more consistent. So that's when attacking and the placement and making sure that, you know, your attacks are to the left or right hip dependent on if they're a left-hand or right-handed player. Those are the things that become more important, so those shot selections end up helping you win the game. I think that pretty much wraps up this comment. I'm very much grateful for it because it has opened my eyes to things that I can improve and to not just stay on the same level that I kind of have been. Definitely disguising my shots more is something that I need to incorporate in my game because I feel like I have been getting a little too relaxed and I can be winning more points that way. That's all that I have for today. I probably could have gone over more comments and stuff, but number one, I already talked too much, and number two, I have to actually edit all this afterwards. Anyways, I really do appreciate the attention that the channel has been getting. It's been really awesome. And I think the moral of this video, if there's anything that I can take away from it, is that I just need to keep posting more actual gameplay videos. And I'm sure you just want to watch more badminton content in the first place. That's why you're here. But that will be coming soon. And for now, keep on hitting that shuttlecock. See ya.